Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maria. If you watch this video and you enjoy it, don't be shy, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for any future videos on narcissistic abuse recovery and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Today we are going to get into a video that really hits home. This video is about scapegoats, hyper-vigilance, highly sensitive people, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So when we are talking about someone who is the scapegoat of the game of triangulation, we're talking about a child in a narcissistic family dynamic, or maybe your parents were just emotionally unavailable to you when you were a child. You didn't feel protected. You were not easily manipulated, but there was definitely another sibling that may have been a golden child sibling, and they were highly manipulated. So you were someone who maybe showed a higher level of empathy. You were a sweeter child, and you were the brunt end of the emotional abuse. A narcissist thinks that you are an extension of them, and they don't like who they are. So they brought you down a few notches. When you are the scapegoat of triangulation, sometimes you become someone that we call a highly sensitive person, or you're hyper-vigilant. Okay, and a lot of times we develop something called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So just like what you would hear of, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, this is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which comes from long-term emotional abuse. This abuse may come from narcissistic parents, caretakers, emotionally unavailable parents. This could happen from bullying. This is something that happens over an extended period of time. So let's talk about this hyper-vigilant, highly sensitive, scapegoated child that now turned into an adult who may have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and some of the things that you may deal with along the way. So when we are hyper-vigilant, we're someone that notices everything. We are hyper aware of everything that's going on, not only outside of us, but also inside of us. So what I'm talking about is you might be highly sensitive to the sounds of someone chewing, a car door slamming shut, the trunk door slamming shut, the way in which someone looks at you, the tone of their voice, the way they walk across the room, the expression on someone's face. You are aware of literally everything that's going on outside of your body. You are also aware of everything that's going on inside of your body, in your physical body and in your mind. You have the thought process of, there's something internally wrong with me. I'm annoying. I'm a problem. It's my fault. And you may feel that in the form of anxiety, a tight chest, a sick stomach. But you're constantly thinking that there's something wrong with you. You're constantly feeling unsafe in certain situations, maybe social situations. And you're constantly feeling as if the world is a threat. It's not safe. You're looking at yourself as there's something wrong with you, but you're also looking at others as there's something wrong with them because of this deep-rooted feeling of it's not safe. The world's not safe, and the people in the world are not safe. So let's talk about how this can affect your life and really what this looks like. So a lot of times when we're in these situations, we don't know what to do with this feeling of unsafety. So we want to numb out, or we want to get away or flee, isolate, zone out, whatever it may be. When we're a child, maybe we were able to get silent. Maybe we were able to go into a room and isolate. Maybe we were playing with toys and acting like we were busy. Maybe we were dissociating. Maybe we left the house. Whatever it is, we would go into this flight trauma response to get out of whatever it is that unsafe situation may have been. Now, in my case, I was nervous a lot of the time as a child, which caused a lot of stomach issues that I had. And this unsafe feeling, let's say the scenario was maybe my mom was in the kitchen and my brother, who's a lot older than me, may have come home. When he walked in the door, I could hear him talking to my mom. I would be in the living room by myself. No one else would be home. I created this story that because my brother was there and he was talking to my mom, that I am now not safe, because if he comes into the room that I'm in and he starts talking to me, then I know that I'm going to go silent and I'm going to feel like there's something wrong with me, because a lot of times, most times he would make me feel as if I was stupid. There was something wrong with me. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I was the problem. And this stemmed around him asking a lot of questions, pressuring me into answering, just like continuous conversation, getting down to the point of me getting silent and him acting like there's something wrong with me. So because I hear his voice and I hear him come into the house, I constantly would feel like, okay, I need to leave. I need to leave the house. I need to go into my room. I need to hide. I need to be busy, right? So we create these stories as to what is going to happen next, and it stems from a place of fear. We're fearing what is about to happen, and we're needing to protect ourselves. So as a child, leaving and doing these things worked for us. As an adult, a lot of times, because we are in this fear, we are in this trauma response, we numb out. So a lot of times people use drugs, marijuana, alcohol, to numb from not having to feel those unsafe feelings inside. Same thing, flight trauma response. Okay, so this is a lot of times is how this works as an adult. Now, in my case, I went through getting sober. So when I became sober, I no longer had those vices, those things to be able to numb myself out. So how do you actually work with this when you feel so unsafe in the world and you don't have these numbing mechanisms? Well, there are some things that you can do, and this takes time and a lot of practice to be able to work on these things. But there are some things that you can do to be able to regulate your nervous system when you are in this sense of this feeling of, I want to isolate, I want to get away, and you just are completely shutting down. I myself am not perfect at this, but we, as we go through this journey of sobriety and of learning how to heal and of reparenting our inner child, we get into new situations and we do new experiences. We have new experiences in life. And as we have these experiences with other people, we have to kind of learn how to navigate through them while we're in them, and then learn from them when they're over to be able to do it better the next time. So this healing journey is a continual thing that we're constantly going to have to work on as being scapegoats of narcissistic triangulation who have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, are highly sensitive and hyper-vigilant. Something that we can do to help ourselves in this process is to learn what our triggers are. So, what are your triggers? The way in which someone eats, the music that, they listen to, if it's like a violin or a loud type of music, when someone slams a car door, is your trigger the tone of someone's voice? Figure out what your triggers are and learn how to work with them. If you're going to be in a car ride with someone for a group of people for a long time, you may need to bring headphones. You may need to be able to listen to the kind of music that makes you feel good inside. Really what it is we are having these triggers, and then we're creating stories as to why these triggers are our fault. So someone is slamming a car door, and that's triggering us. And in our minds, someone is slamming a car door because they're aggravated with us, because we did something wrong, because we're bad. Okay, so really they might just be closing the door loudly, or the wind might be blowing. So we need to try to reframe as to why someone may be doing the things that they're doing. For instance, if I text someone and I say, hey, how are you doing? And this is someone that I usually hear from a lot, but I haven't heard from. And they say, good, I'm just busy. In my mind, I might think, they're saying I'm just busy because they're mad at me. I did something wrong. It's my fault. I'm bad. Okay? So these are the stories that we're telling ourselves. We need to reframe these stories and ask ourselves these questions out loud. Did I do something that would make this person mad at me? Is it really my fault, or is this a story that I'm telling myself? We need to kind of call ourselves out on this. And then we need to have compassion for ourselves, because reparenting this inner child that's so wounded and so hurt is so important. So having compassion for ourselves in those times. It's not your fault. You are a good person. You're a good human being that cares about other people. You were just triggered. This does not mean that there is something internally wrong with you. This just means that in your childhood, things happened and they made you hyper aware, and you created stories around them to believe that it was your fault. Okay? Just call yourself out on the situation. And be compassionate with yourself. We want to learn that we are internally good. We don't need to live our entire lives thinking that everything is our fault. So we talked about what it's like to be hyper-vigilant and to isolate and have that feeling of I can never get close to people because I feel inside like everything is my fault, and I am constantly analyzing everything I'm doing at the same time as constantly analyzing everything that everyone else is doing, with the idea of the world is not a safe place. So I'm critiquing myself, I'm critiquing everyone else, and it causes this divider to be put up between you and the other people that you're trying to have relationships with. You never feel like it's actually a safe time to show your true and authentic self to someone, because you don't feel like they're safe. You don't feel like the world is safe. So we talked about learning what our triggers are. Another trigger that some of us who have emotionally abusive caretakers or emotionally unavailable or narcissistic parents, a big trigger for us is someone that we think may be narcissistic. So maybe this person isn't a narcissist, but just the fact that they're showing narcissistic tendencies is enough to trigger us. So that's another thing that can trigger us, those of us that have this hyper-vigilance. So we talked about figuring out what our triggers are and kind of reframing this story around what these triggers may mean about us, and having compassion for our situation and for our inner child. Something else that really helps is creating routines in your life. So having routines where you wake up early, you get somewhere early. This avoids the anxiety of not knowing where you're going, of being late, which could also create this there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough sensation in your body. So getting somewhere early. So creating these routines of going to bed early, getting sleep, eating a healthy breakfast, having a healthy lifestyle in general, watching what you watch on shows like Netflix, or watching what you're listening to, the kind of music that you're allowing yourself to listen. So the routines that you get into your life, that you have set up for yourself, are very important if you're someone that's a hyper-vigilant person. Now, if you're stepping out of those routines and you're doing something new, and this is a social situation, it's going to be a little bit harder because you're not going to have, your structured routines that you would normally have. In these situations, what I have learned is that it would probably be smart to own up to the fact that you're a hyper-vigilant person. This isn't something that you internally need to constantly beat yourself up about, but to be able to be with people that you feel safe enough to tell, look, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm a hyper-vigilant person and I'm highly sensitive. So there are going to be times that things are going to trigger me and I am going to want to shut down. And just to put it out there and let people know this is what's going on with you. I think what happens with people that are hypervigilant is that we go into a shame cycle so often that we are constantly shaming ourselves for shutting down, for getting silent, for isolating, for thinking, there's something wrong with me, and this negative inner critic that's going on inside of us all the time. And we go into the shame cycle of all of this that we literally shut down to the point where we can't come back from that. And I think it's important to own the fact that you're a hypervigilant person and to understand deep down that this is not your fault. There is nothing wrong with you. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't be shy, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for any future videos on narcissistic abuse recovery and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And as always, I wish you all the love in the world.